Howdy, everyone. My name is Rick Holland. I'm one of the Chief Information Security Officers here at ReliaQuest, and today I'm going to talk to you about GreyMatter Digital Risk Protection. If you're not familiar with GreyMatter DRP, don't worry, you're in the right spot. At a high level, what it is external exposures about your organization. This could be things that you're leaking out across the internet. It could be vulnerabilities to your infrastructure. It could be the way threat actors are talking about you. And I'm going to break this down for you with some examples and talk you through how the process of GreyMatter DRP works. So it starts off with configuration. So first step. And one of the things that's really important to note here is this is about your assets. One of the things that no security team ever said is I want to have more alerts that are not particularly helpful. What makes GreyMatter DRP alerts helpful is they're based on your assets. They're based on things that you care about. Examples of these types of assets could be domains, could be hashes, could be server naming conventions. It could be code words for special projects. It could be assets related to intellectual property. But things are important to your business that you would not want to be exposed externally. So essentially what GreyMatter DRP does is we gather all of these assets, and then what we do is we go out and collect. And if you'll suspend animation or suspend your belief a bit and picture this as the ocean, this as an iceberg or perhaps a tooth, you have the open or surface web, you have the deep web, and then you have the dark web. So the open or surface web doesn't require any special access. You can get to it. The deep web would be something that requires authentication for you to be able to log into. And then the dark web is a dark net. You may be familiar with Tor browser for accessing onion networks. That is a type of dark net. The thing I like to point out here is sometimes people will hyper-focus on the dark web, but you really have risks that go across the open, deep, and dark web. And you want to have visibility across all three. You don't want to just hyper-focus on one. So that's really important. So the way that the machine works, if you will, is we collect these assets, and then we go out and crawl across the open, deep, and dark web. And it's more than crawling. There's three ways that I like to talk about this. One is we have our own crawlers. So you could think of this as a simplified example of a Google bot that's going out and indexing sites, pulling things back on it. That's one component. And that's open websites, could be deep websites, and of course it could be, onion sites as well. So you have the crawlers that are going out and doing the collection. Then you have APIs that GreyMatter DRP plugs into. Shodan as an example there, maybe Pastebin as another. And then finally, you have human collectors as well, because you can't automate all the things, especially when it comes to the cyber criminal underground. It's a cat and mouse game. Threat actors are on the lookout for security researchers and law enforcement crawling their forums and their marketplaces. So it's a combination of automated and human collection. Ultimately, you want to have automated collection because that's what scales, but sometimes you just can't. So really, you collect all this information, you go out and crawl across these three different areas, and then you spit out alerts. And let me walk through this. And this phase, I would say, like to just say is analysis, because there is a risk engine on the back end that is going out and prioritizing the types of things that you're getting alerted on. And that could be based on the asset class or the severity or importance of criticality of an asset. It could just be the nature of what something is. Multiple things that we're doing here when we're generating GreyMatter DRP alerts. The first category, and I'm going to give examples of each one, is brand protection. So brand protection DRP alert would be, maybe it's a phishing site that's been set up to capture credentials for your employees or capture credentials for your customers. Maybe it is a domain that's been registered that has an MX record on it, because it's going to be used for phishing emails to try to help the adversary get action on whatever their objectives are. So in this case, you would get an alert saying this malicious domain has been raised, fires off there. Also, this could be for malicious mobile apps. It could also be for spoofed social media profiles as well. So that's the brand protection and a couple examples of the alert types there. The next one is data leak detection. I got a squeaky marker over here. Data leak detection would be looking for, I mentioned here, intellectual property. So it could be sensitive information, maybe it's about a company you're about to acquire that's leaked out accidentally or maliciously, and you could get visibility into it. Really kind of sensitive documents that you're interested in, intellectual property, business plans, code words, that sort of thing, you would get alerts on there. And depending on the site, you could take different actions, and I'll get into that next. The next category is technical leak detection. And I make a distinction here. This could be a good example, classic example that we see a lot in our customers is GitHub. People think that a repo is private when in fact it's public, and they may be putting up actually an RSA SSH private key, which obviously should not be in the public domain. There could be Amazon, AWS, access keys, access tokens, and you will have seen in the news, there's been examples of someone uses GitHub or GitLab, one of the like, has something that they think is private, it's not, and they gain initial access into the AWS environment, and then they start pivoting around lateral movement and conducting action on objectives. So you want to get an alert if you have your private key that's public, that sort of thing that's out there. Another one is dark web monitoring. Now I did mention here, right, in the dark web monitoring bit that you don't want to hyper focus on it, but you need to have visibility and understand what you look like out on the dark web and how adversaries are talking about you. One of the ways that's very popular from a commerce perspective in the cyber criminal underground on the dark web. Now, this also applies to the open web, because if you're operating in other parts of the world, you don't have to be on the dark web. You can just be in the surface web, but it's credentials. So adversaries are buying, selling, trading, giving away credential dumps of your customers, your employees, that sort of thing. So having an idea when a listing pops up on a dark web forum or a dark web marketplace or a surface web forum, and getting an alert to say, hey, someone is claiming to sell access to it. Oftentimes you can get a teaser, a taster, and you can validate if that really is your environment or not. So that's one example. Another example in the dark web monitoring might be threat actors selling RDP access to your environment or looking to target your environment. So understanding what the threat actors are discussing about your organization is a helpful one. Attack surface monitoring is another capability that we have in GreyMatter DRP. And in attack surface monitoring, the attack surface is overwhelming. I talk to ReliaQuest customers all the time, growing by acquisition, global companies. The attack surface is constantly growing. And here we have a backstop to help you out. If you have a new service that comes online and it's vulnerable to something, you'll get an alert on it. If you have an SSL certificate that's going to expire in a month, and maybe it's the month before Black Friday and you need your e-commerce site to be up and running, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot, so to speak, you get an alert on that. So it really helps you understand what you look like to adversaries so that you can remediate things. And then finally, last but not least, is threat intel. And threat intel, for me, is actually feeds into a lot of this stuff, because we're using what's happening across these alert types to generate threat intelligence for our customers, but also to feed the intelligence that we're doing analysis on. Examples here could be, here are the top ransomware actors over the past quarter. You will be able to go into GreyMatter and see a threat actor profile in a write-up of the actor. We have vulnerability profiles that are going to be in GreyMatter as well. So if the soup du jour, the threat du jour is going on, you can go and look that up. So really, threat intel feeds across all of these items here. And then finally, the last bit is, because nobody just wants to have a bunch of alerts that you can't do anything with, is we need to be able to mitigate. And where I like to start off on the mitigation side is just on GreyMatter, running out of real estate a little bit, so I'll shorten it. But you're going to get these alerts just like you would receive any other alert from ReliaQuest, right? Phishing domain that's going to come in. It's going to come in through GreyMatter or other integrations that we have. And the analyst teams are going to review these, and it's going to be like anything else that's out there. One of the unique features that we have with GreyMatter DRP is a takedown service, which as a CISO who's used this service, I highly recommend it because you're going to get spoofed social media profiles. You're going to get malicious domains trying to do bad things to your customers, your employees. You may have malicious mobile apps that are consumer facing. You're going to want to do something about it. It's not enough to get alert, alert, alert. You need to take an action. So we have a takedown service that you can subscribe to where we'll facilitate taking down that malicious content that's out there. Another example that we have would be our automate playbooks. So depending on what tools, security tools you have in your environment and are deployed, you'll be able to take actions. So an example here, and actually I build on the brand protection one, you have a phishing domain that you've identified as trying to steal credentials from your employees. Well, one, you use the takedown service to request that get taken down. That can happen quickly, depending on who it is. The times could change, but you need to get immediate protection. So what you could do with an automate playbook, if you have the right tooling in place, is you could put a block into your forward proxy so your employees can no longer access that malicious website. So you'll see various different automate playbook options depending on the alert type from GreyMatter DRP and what tools you have in your environment. Another use case is just enrichment. And here, there's a couple angles on the enrichment. One is GreyMatter alerts in general are going to be enriched with the threat intelligence information that we're getting from GreyMatter DRP. That's one component, but you can also enrich your own investigations. Let's say you want to know something, maybe you get an extortion letter, something along those lines. You can go into the threat intel library and you can use the resources we have there to enrich your own investigation. So you have the ability to go in and conduct your own research within GreyMatter DRP and the threat intelligence library as well. The final thing, something that I'm actually very excited about, is kind of this 360-degree view of intelligence that you get. You have the external visibility from the alerts here, but that's coupled with what we're seeing inside ReliaQuest customers' environments. So it's not just an external-only story, and it's not just an internal-only story. You're really combining the two together to give you a better picture of the risk, a better picture of the threat actors that are targeting your organization, that you can then take action on. And that's really, again, the mitigate part to me is the most important. We don't need more blinking alerts, that sort of thing. We actually need to take action. And GreyMatter DRP has the tool to help you take action and reduce risk to your environment. If you'd like to learn more, you can do a demo. So you can request a demo and kick the tires on this yourself, talk to someone on the team for that. And again, reach out if you have questions, but thank you very much for your time. Appreciate your attention. Take care.